Brody Rogers. I'm a vegan. And I'm 22 years old. It took me until very recently to realize that I even like stand-up comedy. Pretty much what happened was I tried everything else a human can possibly be good at, and through a process of elimination found that I wasn't good at any of them. So I landed on this, and hopefully it goes well. Which is weird, because I had my future told to me when I was younger, and it went very differently than it's going now. You see, I had this friend for a long time. Her name was Teresa, and her mother never liked me. So though we were friends for many, many years, I was forbidden from seeing her. I wasn't allowed to be in the same room with her, and I never knew why. 5 years into our friendship, Teresa revealed to me the secret about her mom. She said that when she had met me in the 8th grade, bear in mind I had only met her because I went over to their house to play apples to apples, a very innocent thing. Her mother saw me, this little 8th grader, saw me and had a vision about my future. She knew something about me that I didn't, just off of this look. And the vision that she had was that I was going to grow up to be a very successful businessman. That's not even the joke, but thank you. I was going to be a very successful businessman, and because of the success I would have, I would get this inflated sense of ego. And with this inflated sense of ego, I would cheat on my wife. And because of this situation, I was not allowed to be friends with Teresa. This raised many questions. The first of which, successful, that doesn't sound like me. The second of which, I had to ask Teresa, in this situation, are you my wife or my mistress? She said neither. I was like, okay, so your mom had a vision that I would cheat on someone someday, and therefore we can't be friends. Another question I had, businessman. I'm an actor. Even back then, I was an actor. The shows I did were really bad, and I would have completely understood if her mom had seen one of those shows and decided based on that to not let us be friends. Because they were that bad. The very first show I ever did was, okay, in my middle school, we weren't fond of paying for the rights to shows. So what we actually did is we would take Broadway shows and adapt them ourselves. So my very first show was a 7th grade adaptation of Beauty and the Beast that we called Alina and the Animal. I played the animal. My costume was this brown sack, and I had an epic wig. My favorite thing about playing the animal was my death and transition into becoming a prince. The way our story went was that I died on stage, and Alina was just heartbroken and so sad that her brown sack animal lover just dropped down on stage. And because she was so sad, her guards didn't want her to get to see me dead, so they cover me in a blanket. And so there I am under a blanket, but that's when I make my transition into the prince. So I'm under a blanket, full on changing everything, making a whole lot of noise and a lot of motion, and she's like, he's dead, he's dead! And has to look real surprised when I'm like, bam, I'm not dead, I'm a prince. One night as I'm going down, I'm collapsing on the ground, I smack my head on a table, and my wig goes flying into the audience. And she didn't do this, but I wish the actress playing Alina looked at me and went, it was a wig? You're a prince? You're beautiful! But she didn't do that. I get up and I'm a prince, and instantly we get married. We're getting married, and it's time to dance, and I got my arms open wide for a dance, but the actress playing Alina is way too nervous to dance in front of people. So I'm standing, honey, let's dance. She's 10 feet away from me, completely motionless. That was my first theater experience. Definitely not a businessman. It was not, however, my worst theater experience. My worst theater experience was in community college. I took an advanced acting class with a woman who, out of respect, I don't want to use her real name, out of respect to myself. Because I don't want to remember her name. I don't want to remember anything about this class. It was terrible, and I hate her. What can I tell you about her? I'll call her Nancy for now. That wasn't her name. Well, I can tell you about Nancy was that when she was very young, she was very large. And because of when she moved to Hollywood in order to thin herself out, she dabbled with crystal meth.
What?
It's what you do. So, she dabbles with crystal meth, gets a little thinner, starts to get some acting jobs. The dabbling turns into a harsh addiction because that pesky meth. And it doesn't work out for her. She decides to go to grad school and become a teacher. I can tell you, and then not just that, but to get off of the meth, she turns to Jesus, devout Christian. Anyway, so I can tell you all of that about Nancy, but I can't tell you a thing she taught me about acting, because she taught me nothing. She was that bad. She was not actually the weirdest thing about the class. The weirdest thing about the class was the people that took it. It should have been a red flag to me that no other actors took the class, advanced acting. I thought maybe they were busy. No, they knew that Nancy was a psychopath. I walked in blind. The weirdest person in the class was a girl named Jen. Jen, I think, walked into the class by accident on the first day, and for 16 weeks felt too awkward to leave. Jen was the kind of person who was, more nervous to speak to a human than I am scared of dying. It's a really bad quality to have as an actor. One of the exercises we were doing was love scenes, which naturally just did not work for Jen. Jen is having trouble, speaking to people, and my teacher, Nancy, is just like, Jen, you gotta get it together. Okay, if you don't feel like you're in love with the person you're talking to, just imagine that they're actually your celebrity crush. If you've never taken an acting class, this is a technique that we call dishonesty. It falls under the larger umbrella of advice that I would refer to as bad acting advice. This is what Nancy's special in, bad acting advice. So here's Jen freaking the hell out, and Nancy's just like, Jen, I get it. You're the kind of person who's too nervous to say your own name during roll call, but please tell everyone what celebrity you want to fuck. And Jen is just crying, and eventually, she berates Jen enough to where Jen just goes, Shia LaBeouf! There's absolutely no point to that story, I just think it's hilarious. My final for that class was having to do a scene with Jen and this English major named Jessie. It's a scene where me and Jessie are at this diner and Jen is our waitress. We're talking, doing our thing, Jen comes in, takes our order, and leaves. Me and Jessie keep talking, the scene progresses, Jen never comes back out with our food. Alright, so we start improvising a little bit, hoping maybe she's just nervous and it's going to come out a little later. Still doesn't come out. I improvise something like, alright, maybe I should go check on our food. So I walk backstage and there's Jen, petrified. I shake her down a little bit. I'm like, Jen, what the fuck? This is my final. Just say 2 lines and you can leave forever. Jen, I kid you not. And she actually spoke like this. She goes, Brody. Brody, I can't do it. You gotta go on without me. And she runs out of the theater. I've never seen her again. I walk back on stage, and I'm panicking a little bit. I decided to keep improvising a little bit. A few minutes into the improvisation, I just stop it and go, Nancy, look, Jen left. Jen's not coming back. But looking back on it, it's also a little strange. Nancy didn't notice a thing. Meth, am I right? A week later, the drama department was throwing a barbecue for the drama majors. How cool was that? Community college was awesome. They were throwing a barbecue for the drama majors, and Nikki walks up to me and all my friends, and she says something like, hey guys, you all remember Jen? And we're like, yeah, we remember Jen. How could we possibly forget Jen? And she's like, do you remember that time Jen ran out of the class during a final? I'm like, yes, where is this going? And she's like, Jen had a heart attack. And I freak out a little bit. I'm like, was it because of me? Did I shake her down too hard? Was I too mean? Is she alive? Did I kill Jen? Months later, I learned that Jen never had a heart attack. Nikki was Nancy. Well, there you go. That's her name. Nancy had confused Jen with another Jen in one of her other classes who had a heart attack at one point in her life and was fine. And she just wanted to be the center of attention. So that all happened, and I almost quit acting. I almost quit drama. I was like, this is the worst. I hate everything about this. But then I thought about the prophecy. I didn't want to become a businessman. The other thing that the prophecy foretold was that I would become an adulterer. And I'm happy to announce with you all that that didn't happen. I'm 4 years into an awesome relationship, and there's nothing adult about it. My girlfriend's name is Megan, if you don't know her. And oh, God. I can't imagine, the concept of cheating. I wake up every day baffled at the idea that even one person is attracted to me. I got this crooked back, I got a big nose. I'm the kind of guy that won't cuddle during a movie because I am focused on the movie. I'm also the kind of guy that is aware that I will leave my apartment to take a dump in public because I'm completely aware that there's a very likely chance I'm going to clog the toilet, and I don't want to unclog it. There was this one time not too long ago that I had spent the night at Megan's house, and I had an audition the following day at noon. I woke up at 10 o'clock so that I could go home and shower and prepare for the audition, but I forgot that fact about myself, and regrettably took a dump in her place, in her bathroom. And I looked at it, and I knew by the sheer mass of the thing that it wasn't going to go well. But I prayed, and I thought by divine intervention it would go through, and it did not. I clogged the toilet. I frantically searched every inch of that bathroom for a plunger. There was none. I searched her kitchen. Nothing. I started to freak out, wondering that if the sheer heat and density of the thing might evolve into a single-celled organism and start new life. And I'm freaking the hell out. I'm time is passing. I can't find a plunger. She is going to wake up and go into the bathroom and see what I've done and leave me. I start looking up solutions. How can you unclog a toilet without a plunger? The number one answer is that it will eventually soften and unclog itself. I don't got that kind of time. I'm freaking out. Another thing pressing on my mind is that I'm a caffeine addict and hadn't had coffee yet. I make matters worse. I steal Megan's coffee, being a bad person that I am. Eventually, Megan wakes up, and I tell her everything that happened, and being the kind person she is, she understands, and informs me that there's another bathroom in the house, and that bathroom has a plunger. I hadn't even thought about that. I go in there, I take the plunger, I shed one tear for the possible new life I had formed as I plunge it down the toilet, and it goes away. So I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not a businessman, and I've never cheated on anyone, I don't intend to, but I completely understand why any parent wouldn't want their kid to be a friend with me.